We explored row and measure formats in the modifying format of Day 2 training. A row format is to be used when the format of all the rows in the cuboid have the same format, for example our transaction data and our drop-down lists cuboids. In the measure format, there is a repeating pattern within the data of the format. This pattern could be repeating itself every 2 rows, or it could be repeating itself every 10 rows, implying that there is a pattern that repeats itself in the format of the data. Let us explore an example of a customer's deposits and withdrawals over the years. However, we will summarize the daily transactions to the month level and depict the months as columns and the year as values in a column. Along with the withdrawal and deposit, we compute the starting and ending balances for the month too. Plus, we also summarize the data at the quarter level. Notice, the customer's identifier in column A is repeated for the whole data set. The year changes after every 4 rows. And for the 4 rows of the year, the activity column values are unique, i.e., starting balance, deposits, withdrawals, and ending balance, and are repeated for every year. The values of the activity column appear in a certain sequence, hence it is good practice to assign sequence numbers to them. So, let's insert a sequence number column before the activity column. Assign the sequence as we want them to appear. Copy and paste the sequence numbers to the other years too. And we will hide the column as the users don't need to see it. We will now link export this data. We start with adding a new application sheet. Copy and paste the account summary data into the new application sheet we just added. Let's preserve the formatting and column widths. Increase the magnification a bit, so as to see the values instead of hashtag sign. Then, let's link export the sheet. As before, enter NH level 0, NH level 1, and NH level 2 values, followed by selecting the collaboration name, whiteboard name, and then entering the cuboid name. Click on Link Export button. Click on Yes. As we want to preserve the formatting, we will click on No. Now that we have link exported the cuboid, let's generate the format for this cuboid. Since we have repeating groups of data, we cannot assign row format to this data set. As we mentioned earlier, this is referred to as measure format and in some circles even as skew format. To assign measure format, one needs to select the header and the first repeating set of rows. To generate the format, click on Format Data on the Boardwalk Velocity menu, then click on Generate Format and select the measure format. Click on Yes on the confirmation pop-up window, followed by clicking on OK on the next pop-up window. Next, we need to assign the format generated to the cuboid. Click on Format Data, then Assign Format, and select the skew format. Click on OK on the next pop-up. We have successfully created a measure format for the account summary cuboid and assigned the format to the cuboid too. As we explored the edit row behavior, let's explore the edit measure behavior too. To get to the edit measure behavior, select Advanced and the edit measure behavior. Edit measure behavior has the same functionalities as the row behavior in terms of inserting and copying measure data. However, there is one additional setting, and that is to define the measure column and the key column. The key for the measure indicates the combination of columns that will uniquely identify each row. The key for our cuboid is the combination of customer, year, and activity columns. To set up the measure column, we need to select any cell of the activity column and then click on Advance, followed by Edit Measure Behavior, followed by Measure Settings, then Set as Skew Measure. A confirmation message pops up. Click on OK to continue. Next, let's set up the key columns. For that, select the customer, year, and activity header cells. Navigate to Advance, followed by Edit Measure Behavior, followed by Measure Settings, then click on Set as Skew Key Column. A confirmation message window pops up. Click on Yes to continue. An informational pop-up shows up. Click on OK to continue. For measure operations like insert and copy measure to work correctly, one must define the measure column and the key columns. Since we link exported this sheet, none of the right-click Boardwalk menus are available and will need to be configured. Let's quickly do that. We will start with creating the default right-click menu. Click OK to continue. Now let's edit the default menu. You will notice, by default, velocity configures for row behavior. Hence, we will need to uncheck all the row-related items and select the skew or measure-related items. Notice that Copy Row is also selected. If we try to save the configuration as is, Velocity will not allow us to save the configuration. Unselect the Copy Row and we will be able to save the configuration. Now let's test to see what is available to us in the right-click menus. These are our right-click row menus that we configured for insert, delete, and copy skew operations. For the cell-level right-click menu, we just left the default options. Now that we have our right-click menus working and our measure and key columns defined, we are ready to look at the rest of the edit measure behavior. Let's review the EOM report sheet. We notice the entire formatting to be the same color. Velocity Accelerator defaults formatting to row format, hence the first data rows format was used for rest of the rows. We know that each row is unique and has a different format. We can use measure format here to preserve the format for the data. We can copy-paste the format from the file that we use to upload the application. But wait, the sheet is protected. So, we need to unprotect the sheet first. This can be done from the Utilities menu and selecting the Unprotect All Sheets option. This will unprotect all the sheets in the current workbook. Now that we know how to configure measure formatting, we can now change the format of the EOM report sheet. To copy the formatting, let's open our original file, select the entire data set, copy the format, and then paste the format on our data set. As the entire data set is selected, we can generate the format too, by clicking on Format Data, then Generate Format, followed by Measure. Click Yes on the confirmation pop-up, followed by clicking on OK on the informational pop-up. Next, we should assign the measure format by clicking on Format Data, then Assign Format and selecting the format from the list. Notice that there are two formats, the row format which was generated by Velocity and the skew format that we generated a few minutes ago. Select the skew format. Click OK on the informational pop-up. For this sheet, we will not be inserting any new rows, so we don't need to set up the measure or the key columns as we did for the account summary, and neither will we need to enable the right-click options to insert or copy rows. In this video, we covered setting up a cuboid with measure format. In the next video, we will focus on inserting measures using velocity features using the newly created account summary cuboid.